Welcome back to my channel, guys. This is my third attempt at a YouTube intro. I suck at it. I suck at this whole YouTube game, but it's okay. It's so much easier for me to stream or be on social media, but here I am on YouTube. I hope you guys missed me. I missed you guys too. And today we're going to be reviewing the best books that I've read in 2023 and the books that captivated my attention the most because, I don't know, it's already February and I have not read a single book in 2024. Not a single book, but that's okay. No worries. I honestly got all my reading done in 2023, and I'm hoping that I could go back to reading in 2024 because it makes me happy and I miss being immersed in another world. So let's just get into it because I feel like I don't want to make this video long because I have a couple of books here that are really good and I want to share with you guys. And let me know your opinions in the comments. All right. Let's get started with the first book, which is Magnolia Parks. I feel like the whole book talk community knows this book. It's great. It's about this rich girl in a rich little world in New York City, and honestly, it's a phenomenal book. It's written by Jessa Hastings. I know there's 3 or 4 other books in this series. I've only read the first one, but I'm very eager in reading all the other ones. It kind of reminds me of Gossip Girl. Like, if you guys like Gossip Girl, I definitely recommend that you pick up Magnolia Parks because it's a very similar type of world. And I like anything that involves New York City because I don't know if you guys know this, but I live here. And I just find it cool to peek into how rich people live in New York City. And I don't know, it's a really good book. It's filled with fun, romance, life lessons, and honestly, you could relate to this book a lot, even if you're not a rich girl living in New York City. Cough, cough, I'm not. So yeah, definitely pick up this book if you want to read about something of that caliber. The next book that I have is Love Theoretically, and as you could tell, I love this book so much. Look at all the little things that I've highlighted throughout this book. This is probably one of the best romance books that I've ever read in my entire life, which is a little crazy for me to say, but Ali Hazelwood just has a way with words. She really encapsulates? That's a blooper. She really encaptures this life of like romance and love, and I just love it so much. I don't have any other books that I've honestly tabbed as much as this book, so honestly that's saying something. It's really awesome. I love the language of it. I like the comedy. She incorporates a lot of comedy in her books, which I really like. I haven't read a lot of Ali Hazelwood books before. I think I've only read 2 of them, and this is like one of the 2. So yeah, I don't know if she does this with like every single book or what, but I definitely need to pick up more Ali Hazelwood books because honestly, she's a phenomenal writer if I'm basing it off of this book, and I would love to read more. The next book that I have is Emily Henry's Happy Place. This is how it looks. It's so cute. It's pink, my favorite color. Totally didn't get the book because it's pink, because that would be weird, right? I really like this book. I haven't finished it. I don't know. Like, I know this like video is best books of 2023, and I really like Emily Henry's writing, and I really like Happy Place, but it's a little slow in some parts, but I really like the friendship and the relationships built between the characters and the way that she captured it inside of this book and the way that she wrote about it. I've just yet to finish it, but I have tabbed like literally the beginning of the book because I guess that's where I found a lot of quotes that I really liked. I'm maybe like 2/3 of the way done with this book, but it's really cute. I hope to finish it sometime this summer because I feel like it's a very summery book, as you could tell by the book cover, and I don't feel like reading it right now. Right now, it's like 30 degrees in New York. It is chilly. It is very chilly. It is like, I feel like the books that you should read right now are like Icebreaker or like hockey romances. Like, that's kind of like what I'm into when it's like wintertime in New York. But yeah, all to say, it's still a good book. I wanted to include it in this list because I really like her writing, and I feel like I haven't read a lot of books where it's very relatable, and the way that she talks about the character in the book being with her ex and the chemistry that they have going on, even though he's an ex, but she still has feelings for him and he kind of has feelings for her. And it's a little interesting. I don't know. Pick it up if you honestly want to pick it up. But yeah, this is another book that I literally watched a YouTube video of this girl reviewing it. And I was like, I'm running to Target right now, literally right now, to pick it up. And it is Down the Drain by Julia Fox. Julia Fox is Kanye's ex, but I feel like she shouldn't only be known for that. She is honestly a really genius person, a really genius lady. She's very big in the fashion world. She goes to New York Fashion Week all the time. She presents herself in a way that's strong and independent, and that's important for women to portray themselves as, especially in society nowadays. Well, I feel like they should always portray themselves as such in other societies, but you know, especially in 2024, it is honestly important to portray yourself as strong and independent. And I read this book and I didn't have a lot of high hopes for it. Even though I watched a YouTube video talking about this book, I kind of didn't know what to expect. It was more of like a summary of the book. And then I was like, wow, this sounds pretty interesting. I'm gonna go run to Target, pick it up. I picked it up the same day I came home. An hour into being home, I picked up the book and I just could not put it down. I think I binge read it in like a day or so, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, okay. Doesn't she look so sexy here? Let me just preface that. But anyways, I really love this book. I never knew that she was a writer. She talks briefly about how her dad used to write, and that's kind of where she picked up the skill of writing, and that's how she released this book. But honestly, it was so well articulated, it's not even funny. Like, I honestly didn't come into it having high hopes because she's not a well-renowned author or anything of the sort. But honestly, this book is so well written. She navigates life in a very peculiar way. She talks about having kids and all the things that have happened to her in the past and all the misogyny that she underwent in society and with her parents and her toxic relationships with her parents and her friends and moving constantly. And I feel like this book is so relatable. Like, even if you don't have the same experiences that she has, the way that she writes just makes you seem like you're really like in her shoes and you're really experiencing it with her. So honestly, I give this book like a 9 out of 10. I don't really read autobiographies or anything of the sort, but honestly, this book is amazing and it's such an easy to read book and I love it. Honestly, I love it. And I don't know why the cover is backwards. Like, I just opened the book and you see how the cover is like this. I open the book and it's completely backwards because I hate, okay, is this just me? But I hate reading with the paper on the book. I usually take it off and then when I'm done with it, I put it back on. Or if I'm filming a YouTube video, I put it back on and I put it on backwards. Teehee. Get into science fiction. I don't read science fiction a lot personally. I feel like a lot of people don't read science fiction. It's a very interesting type of thing because I like watching movies that are science fiction. I like watching Interstellar. I love how I only named like one movie, but that's like one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's the first thing that comes to mind when I say science fiction. Maybe even Dune. I did like the Dune movie. I'm gonna see the second one next week. Anyways, let me just get into this book. It's by Andy Weir. I'm not sure. It's the author of The Martian, and it's called Project Hail Mary. This is a very interesting book. I've also not finished this. I'm sorry, I haven't finished a lot of the books in this pile, but that's because life gets in the way. Honestly, it's not because they're bad books by any means. This book is really interesting. Basically, I don't want to give it away, but he's stuck in the spaceship and he's like, I don't know where I am, and all of his like all the people on the ship with him are dead, and he's like, what the hell is going on? And he basically has to navigate where he is, and he's a really smart man, and he also forgets who he is. So he kind of, like, throughout the book, as he's trying to figure out where he is and like where he is in space in general, because he's literally just floating in space on a ship, and he finds out that he's a professor and a scientist, and he's very smart, and he's like, okay, I'm capable of doing math, knowing where I am in the first place. So he kind of like does calculations and things like that to try to figure out like the orbit of like the sun and where he is in relation to the sun, and then he kind of gets to figure out where he is, how it happened, and memories surface back to him. This is all in the beginning of the book. I think I only got a third of the way through the book, so I haven't read a lot of it. But yeah, it's a crazy intro. That's kind of why I couldn't put it down, but then I ultimately did put it down. I feel like it's a really good book, especially if you don't like science fiction. I feel like it's very easy to read. Like, it's not a really hard thing to kind of just like go through and witness and read, and I really like Andy Weir's writing. I kind of want to pick up The Martian because I never read that book. It makes me like excited to get into him as an author, and especially get into the science fiction genre. I kind of want to pick up more books that are science fiction because I just don't really read that. I usually read romance books or fiction. I just stay in that caliber, but I do like experimenting. The next book is my favorite book of 2023. Oh my god, can you guys guess? I feel like I talk about this book in like every single one of my videos. Like every single one of my videos, I'm like, yes, this book. It is called Divine Rivals, and it is written by Rebecca Ross. Oh, give me a second. I love this book so much. Basically, the premise of the book is there's this girl and this guy, and they're both writers and they're both journalists, and it takes place in a war setting, and it's just the cutest romance ever. Honestly, by the way that it looks, I thought this would be a fantasy book. It looks like a fantasy book, but I pick it up and it's not a fantasy book, and I love it so much. This is literally the best romance book that I read in 2023. Honestly, in general. Literally in general. Like, oh my gosh, I love this book so much. I can't say enough high quality things about this. Like, you guys need to pick it up right now, literally right now, because it's so amazing. I didn't think she would be a good writer because I've never read any of her other books, but this book was so good, so greatly articulated. The chemistry that she gave the two characters was just really amazing, and it just made me smile the whole way throughout reading it. And I don't know, I kind of want to reread this book. I just feel like it made me so happy that I kind of just want to read it again. And I don't really feel that way about any other book. Honestly, when I'm done with a book, I'm like, oh, like, thank God I finished it. Like, time to never read it again. But I feel like with this book, I can honestly read it like 5 times and still want to read it the 6th time. So yeah, pick it up if you haven't already, because it is my favorite book of 2023 thus far. Thus far? Wait, 2023 ended. It can't be thus far. Well, in general, it's my favorite book. I want to go into fantasy. This is my favorite fantasy book that I picked up. It's Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Really cool cover, by the way. I know that this book and Divine Rivals were the top 2 books that a lot of book talkers were talking about, and I could see why. Powerless is a pretty good book. I liked it. I feel like I really got into the world, like this fantasy world that she built, and the characters in them. None of them were very pretentious. I feel like in a lot of fantasy books, there are main characters that they're too much of the main character. Like, they kind of like take away from the other characters, but I feel like it doesn't happen in Powerless. And it's a really cool world. Even though it's in my best book pile of 2023, I don't feel like it's my favorite fantasy book of all time. I still think A Court of Thorns and Roses is my favorite, and honestly, I should have showed it to you guys, but I kind of read that in like 2022, so I kind of didn't want to show it, but that book is amazing. I love the first book. Didn't really like A Court of Mist and Fury, but anyways, if you want to read a great fantasy book and you haven't read ACOTAR yet, please read ACOTAR. ACOTAR is amazing, and I'm very picky with fantasy books. I like Harry Potter, I like the Lord of the Rings, but I don't like a lot of the fantasy books that are kind of like talked about by book talkers and whatnot, because I just feel like they're a little messily written, or they develop this world and it's a little too much for me to go through. And I feel like ACOTAR is just so easy to navigate and it's so easy to get hooked on and love it so much. So I don't know how I ended up talking about a completely different book while talking about Powerless. Like, how did that even happen? But yeah, Powerless is good regardless. Another fantasy book that I honestly loved, and you can see the expression on my face, I'm a little wary on it. It's called A Touch of Darkness. This is a book about Persephone and Hades. So if you don't like Greek mythology, you may not like it, but I really like how weird it is. Like, apparently Hades is like obviously the god of the underworld, but then like he's a good guy, and she's a journalist, and she basically goes to hell to interview the souls in hell as to like whether Hades is good, is he a good god, does he treat people well? And it's like a weird premise that has to do with Greek mythology, but it's also really cool, and I really like this book. I don't know, like, my face when I was like about to talk about it is because I started reading the second book, and the second book is kind of where you run into problems with the main character, which is the girl that's the journalist. She kind of, like, in the beginning of the book, she starts questioning Hades, and she's like, I think he's cheating on me, and like, I think he likes another girl, and things like that. And I'm like, girl, like, I don't know, like, he obviously told you that, like, he would make you queen, like, in this book. Like, why are you doubting it? And especially, like, so early in the book, like, there was nothing to really preface it. It was just a little weird, and it kind of, like, drew me away from the series, because I don't know if this series stops on the second book or the third book. I don't even know if the third book's out, but honestly, it just, like, wasn't as good as the first book, and everyone's saying the same thing, that the main character was honestly just blech, like, in the second book. So I don't know, if you want to get into the series, definitely read the first book. I don't know about the second book. Honestly, that's up to you. You can make up your own mind. You could read it and have a completely different thought about the character, but my personal thought is, yeah, she's just a little stuck up, to be honest with you. I only have like one more book left, which is good because I'm sweating. It is like so hot in my house right now, and I need to like open the roof door, but like I'm in the middle of filming a YouTube video. But let's just get into it. The movie came out last year. I watched the movie. It's called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Did it come out in January, or did it come out in December or November? I remember it came out either at the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024.
Run. What are you doing? Run.
But this movie was absolutely fantastic, but the book is honestly way better. I feel that way for a lot of movies. I just feel like it has a lot of more detail and things in it, but I really like how it was a different point of view than like Katniss Everdeen.
I volunteer as tribute.
Like, it kind of gave a lot of backstory to how it even came to be that there were like these games that people were like killing themselves not themselves, or themselves and other people for. And yeah, I don't know, I really like this book. It's really well written. I've read all of Suzanne Collins' other books in the Hunger Games series, and I love the Hunger Games series. It's really good, really well written, and I feel like I had to put it in the best books of 2023 because the movie came out. And honestly, I don't know, I'm a little biased, but I really like the movie, like, a lot. Like, I gave it, like, an 8 out of 10 or something like that. The acting was, like, really good. I like how there were a lot of things in the book that they put inside of the movie, and that kind of just made me really happy. So, I think I'm done. I feel like I rambled for enough time for you guys to see my favorite books of 2023 and the books that have had the highest impression on me. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for coming here. Subscribe or like if you want. If you don't, it's all good. Thank you for the engagement, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!